Welcome back to another episode of A Double-Edged Sword. In this episode, we'll be taking a look at Sonic Mania on the Xbone, the PS4, the Nintendo Switch, and PC, eventually. Now, Sonic as a game franchise has had a varied, troubled past. The first few games were pretty good, even if certain groups have taken that into question. They're wrong, by the way. Then we just had a long period of shitty Sonic games, until, of course, they proved that they can make a good Sonic game, and the franchise can even work in 3D. And for a brief moment, it looked like the Sonic franchise was saved. But nope, just more shitty games causing us to lose faith in Sonic once again. But times have changed. Sonic Mania looks to be a return to form, and hopefully will be the hero Sonic desperately needs. None of the footage used in this video is my own. It's taken from Imakuni. There'll be a bunch of links in the description below. This game plays exactly like a classic Sonic game. You run really fast, you jump, you curl into a ball, and that's basically all you need. They did add a new move called the drop dash, which has you holding jump mid-jump to land going full speed. The thing is though, I only used it maybe once in my first playthrough, so it wasn't that important. There are also power-ups, including 4 different types of bubbles, invincibility, and the blue ring from Knuckles Chaotix, which makes it so that when you get hit, your rings tend to cluster up into larger rings to make them easier to collect. Normally, you can play with a combination of Sonic and Tails, or just Sonic, but you're also available to play as Tails, who is able to fly, and Knuckles, who can climb walls and glide. There are 2 other modes within the game that changes how the game plays, those being collecting the Chaos Emeralds and the Blue Sphere collecting. The Chaos Emeralds work fine. It has you running along a path to collect blue orbs and rings to gain speed and time to grab the emerald from a UFO catcher. Blue Sphere, on the other hand, has you turning all the blue spheres red while also trying to collect rings, like from Sonic and Knuckles. This mode can be extremely aggravating, but it technically works fine. For playing like the classic Sonic we all know and remember, I'm going to give gameplay an amazing. There are 12 zones in Sonic Mania, 8 of which are remasters of classic Sonic zones, and the other 4 are completely original. Now, when you first played the remaster zone, it kind of feels like they copy and pasted segments from the original version into this one, and for the most part they kinda did. However, that is only true for the first act of these zones. When you get to the second act of a zone, it introduces entirely new elements and brand new features. These remixed Act 2s are really nice because they give a fresh take on old zones. However, something that really shines is the brand new zones. While there are only 4 of these, they tend to be spaced out in between remaster stages. It's always great when one of them shows up. They tend to be the highlight of every playthrough, and I wish there were just more. These zones truly show how talented the developers are, and I hope in their future projects we see more zones like these ones. Because of how well done all the remasters are, and how great all the new zones are, I'm going to give this a great. I wouldn't call the graphics 16-bit, but I also wouldn't call them 32-bit. They seem to fall somewhere in between. But that doesn't matter. What matters is, do they look aesthetically pleasing? And yes, they do. The animations on the characters and the enemies look great. The designs of the zones are faithful in Act 1 and are given a level of detail in Act 2 to make them stand out while still keeping a similar theme. The new stages look great and fit in well with the classic stages because they're able to go above and beyond because they're not locked down to any existing materials. The Chaos Emerald stages are supposed to look like they're on the Sega Saturn, and I guess they pull that off while looking appealing. The Blue Sphere stages look like they did in Sonic and Knuckles, so they look fine. Also, I don't want to overlook how beautiful the cutscenes are. Overall, the graphics are faithful while having been upgraded, so I'm giving them a great. Even when Sonic is bad, the music is consistently good. You have the classic music we all know and love in Act 1 of a zone. In Act 2, we get remixes of the music, and they sound great. The new stages also have great music to accompany them. Honestly, there's nothing to really say. It follows the tradition set by other Sonic games, so I'm giving it an amazing. You know, there is so much more to do in this game than I originally imagined. You can do a complete playthrough with each character, and each playthrough is slightly different. You can collect 7 Chaos Emeralds in each one of those playthroughs. By fully completing the Blue Sphere stages, you can get a gold or silver coin, which unlocks extras, which can vary up your playthroughs, of which I refuse to spoil here. There are also a bunch of other neat extras that I recommend looking forward to, and that's just a very layman's way of looking at it. The amount of content here versus the price point more than exceeds its worth, so I'm giving it an amazing. Back in the days, during the Bit Wars, you were either with Sega in the Genesis or with Nintendo in the SNES. In my experience, you sided with one and you were loyal to your brand to a fault. Because of this, most of my friends were Nintendo people, and none of us had a Genesis. So we all just hated on Sega and on Sonic. Even after the Bit Wars ended, I continued to hate on Sonic. I played the original Sonic sometime during the PS2 era, and it didn't impress me, so I just continued to hate the franchise. That all changed in 2011, when for some reason I ended up with a copy of Sonic Colors, which I actually enjoyed. After this, I continued to say I hated Sonic, even though I played the games both new and old. So when Sonic Mania was announced, I was really excited, but I didn't know why. Then I looked back over the past few years and realized I had played almost every Sonic game. I was what you would call a fan. The ironic thing is that once I realized this, I started to lose hope in the franchise, because after a game like Sonic Boom, what's the use in feeling blue? The fact that Sonic Mania is as good as it is proves that even though Sonic fans put up with a lot of shit, there are still glimmers of hope that make it worth fighting for. And I will gladly put up with another Sonic Boom just to get another Mania. With all this being said, I'm going to give Sonic Mania an amazing, with the recommendation to all Sonic fans, new and old, and to even anyone with the tiniest interest in this game or the franchise.
What's the use of feeling blue?